let me start by saying this. James Gunn has to stop. Okay? He seriously put out like a 10 project slate with zero release dates. Homie is wishing on a prayer right now. He's got release dates for the Batman 2 and Joker 2 that ain't got shit to do with him. That's the two things that have release dates. And hopefully he has kind of a release date for Superman, which maybe is bullshit too, and he'll probably just push back because that's crazy. So maybe he has a release date for a Superman movie. I think he mentions it, but like, bro, if Brainiac ain't in it, I'm out. This is how disrespectful I'm gonna be in this video that I'm eating fucking tacos while I'm making this video, okay? James Gunn is not worth taking time out of my day if I'm not doing something else. So I'm gonna eat these tacos and watch this fucking stupid announcement of this slate. And again, I'm gonna try to stop every once in a while. I'm gonna try not to rant as much as I feel like I should, because this guy's a dumbass. But anyways, let's go. Buddy, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO. Wait a minute, what the fuck? Hold on. Is that really what the beginning of the video looks like? Dude, James Gunn made a video like I make my videos. Look at the first frame of his announcement. The first frame of his announcement is him staring dead into the camera with his mouth open. You're gonna think of like one more professional way to like start off your video. I don't know, start with a black screen, start with a little fucking motion graphic of like DC Studios. Give me something, bro. You really just started with like a shot of you with your mouth open. Halfway through what the fuck you're saying. Oh fuck, man. Why is he terrible at everything he does? Why? Anyways, whatever. Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of, our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. You don't have to do any of that. Why? When the fuck has there been a Marvel game that connects to the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's actually been successful other than like just those dumb licensed games from like the early 2000s that were all bad and all of them were Iron Man? I think there was like a Captain America game, but like they're shitty, terrible licensed games that like aren't really anything in the actual gaming community. It's just, those one-off licensed games that they don't really do anymore because of that. They've never been successful. So why would you even try to do that? Literally the gaming section of Warner Brothers specifically, but I think for Marvel as well, it's been more successful when they don't do stuff within the universe of the cinematic universe. Um, Arkham Knight and the Arkham series, the Dark Knight series is successful, but it's not at all connected to those games. So it's like, what the fuck is this guy saying? Already, like that's a stupid point to even try to make. You don't have to do that. I would understand if you're like film and TV, that makes more sense, especially now in this world of streaming where it is, detached from networks and just regular programming. You have companies really taking hold of their own IP and putting them on their own streaming platform. So that makes more sense. Like, having the Batman have a show about the Mafia and Penguin on HBO, that makes sense. But everything else of like, we have to connect everything, including games. No, you don't, bro. That's actually a bad idea. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. If these projects are extremely successful and publicly loved, like the Batman or the Joker or Teen Titans Go, that we establish that we have nothing to do with those extremely successful properties. You see what I mean? Why would you say that? Okay, this new DC slate that I'm starting up has nothing to do with the most successful, most loved properties that are still coming out this day. Again, I'm gonna make the point that he should have just started off with the Batman as the new DC slate. Just make that world, just grow into that world. And if Matt Reeves says no, just say fuck you, Matt Reeves. I'm your producer, and you're gonna do this. And either way, my Superman movie's like 3 years out. Also, like when Superman shows up, that doesn't mean necessarily he's gonna interact with your Batman, anyways. So any interaction with Batman and Superman, even if it was to be the same world, it's like 5 to 8 years out, even if you wanted to do that. So it's like Matt Reeves, just fucking deal with it.
Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into the Flash.
What? Shazam's always been in his own space, completely separate. So it connects so well to our DC universe. Is it separate or is it connected? Why did no one else have this reaction when they saw this video? Just with Shazam. That's like one of the literally 56 seconds in, he mentions how Shazam is in its own universe, but also connects extremely well to the universe. It's just double talk. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth with this immediately, 56 seconds in. That's why you have no credibility with me. That's why I think this is actual bullshit just coming out of his brain. It's nonsense. Let me run that back and we'll just keep watching to the next point. Just so you understand.
And Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well.
But then he connects.
Moves directly
and then moves directly into Flash.
Fantastic movie that I really
what?
love. That resets the entire DC universe. Then can move into Blue Beetle, fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now.
He's a bad speaker, a bad communicator, and I think it's mostly on purpose because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, this, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos.
The first project is something no one's ever heard of. And also, it's an animated TV show. Notoriously extremely successful products, animated TV shows about characters that you have no fucking idea about. In comparison to, I don't know, a wide release film about any of the Trinity characters, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. My first fucking swing at the DC universe is a low budget TV animated show with my brother voicing a fucking rat. The first project, this is where you go. My first project for DC Studios, we're gonna begin the DC universe on Themyscira, on the home place of Wonder Woman's people. We will see all of the depths of which these women dealt with the concerns of gods and men and corruption, even within themselves. Give me a project with some oomph, with some recognizability. Even if it's just a Themyscira show, at least you can be like, well, it leads into Wonder Woman, like directly. Creature Commandos? What's Creature Commandos gonna do for you? What's that setting up? Creature Commandos, bro. Your first project to announce as a DC slate. The stupidest thing you could have done.
Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC.
I wonder why it's the first project up for James Gunn to produce as the new DC slate. It just so happens that he wrote every single episode of this. Even if you wrote this whole thing and you just want to produce it just to make sure that you get the credit for it, even if you're that selfish, there's no way I could ever understand anyone being so selfish that they would make this the debut of their DC production. The level of arrogance that it takes to fucking just shoo away a Batman project, shoo away Wonder Woman, shoo away Superman, like literally any other character that it's actually recognizable, and you go with fucking Creature Commandos as an animated TV series.
You're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it.
I'm down for that project. I'm okay with it. It's still way left field and extremely like niche of a project to try to put out there, especially as the second project of your entirely new DC slate. I think that's ridiculous still. But I mean, if this was like, I don't know, the sixth thing on this list, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna make a Waller show, spinning off from Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and it'll just continue that corner of the universe. I'd be like, okay, but it's literally the second thing on his fucking slate that he's announcing right after an animated TV show about Creature Commandos. Bro, eat my ass. I'm sure that one will be pretty good. The writer's good. First of all, the writer's not him. That's the only reason this one's okay. And like I said, I would put it like sixth down the list, but I mean, sure, I'm down. I love Viola Davis. I think she's great as the character. I think she's been given shit from just, DC production before and just the shit show that it is. But Viola Davis is great in that role. So, I mean, I'm with it, and it's not written by James Gunn. So, sure. Still should not be the number two thing on your slate.
Hey, next up is a big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is
What? Why are you announcing the true beginning of the DCU third? If you want to make Superman the true beginning of your DCU, you know what you should probably do? Make it the true beginning. You see what I mean? Extremely contradictory, literally within like one sentence. Here's the third project I'm announcing for my new DC universe. The true beginning of the DC universe. Alright, let's hear him out. It's Superman Legacy, so come on. Also, Superman Legacy? Bad title. What? Tron? Did this guy never see Tron? And like the reception to Tron? I mean, I get that Superman has nothing to do with Tron, but it's called Tron Legacy. Superman Legacy. Red flags everywhere. Red capes. Alright.
Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025.
Oh, he does have a release date. He has a release date. He has a third release date, and it's a movie that he himself is writing and is Superman. First of all, no one cares if you're having a great time with it. Any person that gets the absolute luck and luxury to be able to write the next official Superman film is gonna have a great time doing it. No, so just say that you're writing it. Give me the release date. I appreciate that you have a release date to this. But bro, literally no one cares how great of a time you're having writing Superman Legacy. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're having a great time getting paid so much money just for a fucking script treatment for Superman Legacy. Obviously. It should be fairly obvious what people want out of a Superman movie at this point. That's a classic Superman, and he fights Brainiac. Just give us that. If it's not that, then what are you doing, bro? You know what I mean? And that's one of my points that I guess I'll make throughout this whole thing. That's just like, how is the path not clear to you? How do you not understand these characters so well that you understand like the exact path that you have to put them on in this live action like restart that you're doing? Then Superman's supposed to fight the Authority in the sequel, and nobody knows what the fuck that is. I made this point in the past video. No one knows who the fuck the Authority is. If you're gonna do the Authority because you're gonna do like quote unquote rad shit, like you might as well fucking do Darkseid War with Zack Snyder. What the fuck are you thinking, Warner Brothers? Just do it. If you're hiring this guy that has no respect for like the lore and the history of all of these story points that were done in the comics, then just fucking do it with Zack Snyder. What is your issue? You chose a guy that's literally exactly the same as Zack Snyder, except has like zero depth to anything. He has the exact same sensibilities, but worse. How does that make any sense?
Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective, with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DC.
For this specific project, I feel the responsibility to remind everyone, in case everyone forgot or you just didn't know, it was in the news like a lot for a long time, that this project, as it's been developed, Lanterns having a project it's always been, I think, scripted as a show, never a movie, but it's always been like a buddy cop idea. This has been in production for literally like, I want to say like 7 years, like just different versions of the script and writing and just like different versions of this same project. But it's always been pitched as that. It's a buddy cop story with two Green Lanterns, including Hal Jordan and John Stewart. I think like I want to say like 4 years ago, this made the news and people were saying that it's what was being pitched is basically like a Lethal Weapon type of movie, but with Green Lanterns, which I thought was a really good idea. But also keep in mind, because this is literally the same project that's been, in pre-production or in script stages for the past 7 years, this is coming directly from Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns is a terrible person. They should fire him permanently from DC and just never hire him again because of all the shit that he's done, all of the shit that he's actually ruined monetarily and business-wise, but also just like as a human being, he's a terrible fucker. And he's said some terrible shit to people in the business. So I think it's very clear now that that guy is only trouble for DC to continue with him. And this is essentially his project. This project, because it's been in production, in pre-production or script stages so long, is the actual main reason why we didn't get a Green Lantern in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Because Jeff Johns really just did not allow Zack Snyder to use well-known lanterns in Zack Snyder's Justice League because he wanted the ownership of these characters. Jeff Johns wrote some, very well-known Green Lantern stories, so at that point I kind of understand that. But considering all the shit that he's done against the brand and also all of the personal terrible shit that he's done, like they should just cut ties with him completely. And it's a huge red flag that this project, I get that he's just announcing the slate, but he's kind of pitching it like it's a new idea. And this idea has been in script stages and pre-production for literally like 7 years. No one has reported on that. I don't know why. And I think it's because a lot of people are just kind of moving away from all of the drama that happened with DC with Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon and all of that shit. And I hope that doesn't happen again, but, just announcing this like it's a regular part of the slate, like a brand new thing that they're putting out there. Like, it's not a brand new thing. This is the same project that they've been trying to put out for the past 7 years. So, I don't know if anyone's ever reported about that online or if anyone else talks about it, but I know this for a fact. I'm sure that some of you out there watching this video will remember that.
Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine.
Oh.
It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU.
Who's the Authority? It doesn't matter. It's a passion project of mine. The most selfish, arrogant motherfucker in the world, dude. Apparently he's setting up the Authority so that they can fight Superman, and that's like what he's always wanted to do. He mentions it here. They're not even DC characters officially, really. I mean, now they are because they're technically bought. But I mean, my only point in pointing out that these are not actual DC characters that are well known within DC is because they're not well known. No one knows who the fuck the Authority is. I'm a huge DC fan, alright? I know a lot about the DC world. I don't know who the fuck any of these characters are. Therefore, I don't give a shit about any of them. And on top of that, they're just like random bad guys that Superman's gonna fight. No one cares. I mean, the most interesting thing that could happen out of this Authority film is that they eventually fight a Justice League. But if they're just fighting Superman, it's like not even worth it, dude. I mean, it's supposed to be like an adaptation of Superman versus the Elite. That's what this kind of feels like, and that's James Gunn's sensibilities, unfortunately. But it's just not a good idea. It's not a good project. It's just like the Authority, a group that no one knows. And you know why it's so important? Because I like them. And then you can say that, like, all of my opinions are based on like my likes and my sensibilities, but he's not taking into account anything about the business side of releasing these projects. No one knows who the Authority is, so that's not going to have any name recognition in comparison to someone from the Superman universe, someone from the Batman universe. Shit, if you make a Nightwing show that will have more name recognition than fucking The Authority.
Will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television.
No, it's not. That's not a different look at superheroes. Watchmen, The Boys, Suicide Squad, literally a movie that you made. There's been so many versions of this, like, superhero team that just gotta do what they gotta do, and it's real and it's gritty. Like, you know what project really takes into account, like, if superheroes were real? Every superhero project that has existed. That's literally what any superhero movie is. You want to set it in a real world. So I'm fucking tired of directors and writers thinking that they're, like, unique. Or, like, you know, pitching some new idea of, like, this is gonna get, you know, into the gray areas of becoming a hero or being a villain, and how, like, that's what all superhero stories are about. You don't have to fucking create an entire passion project with characters that no one knows about to try to get that kind of storytelling into your producing record. Okay? Literally every superhero project is about that. Don't fucking try to pitch me this passion project of yours and say, like, oh, this is a very different look at superheroes. No, it's not. You literally made one of the movies that's exactly a commentary on that idea.
Is called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is a story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island.
This is the only good project he's pitching. This should have been the first thing in this video, in this announcement for the new DC slate. It should have been this project. I think the comparison with Game of Thrones is just like a pop culture, like, ridiculous thing that he just felt he had to do to just get people excited because people fucking love Game of Thrones. And right now it's House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is significantly better. So I understand why he's doing it, and it's probably also going to show up on HBO, so I get it. But also, I don't think you're that good of a writer, man. But I don't know, maybe he's not writing it. Hopefully he's not. Hopefully he's not a writer on it. Hopefully he's just producing this. Hopefully it's like a female writer, or at the very least just a writer that has the correct sensibilities to tell a story about an island of only women, because James Gunn is definitely not that person. So this is literally, we've got two decent projects that he's announced here. Paradise Lost and Waller. They're both in the completely wrong places in this announcement. Paradise Lost should have been first. Waller should have been like fifth down the line. But somehow Waller's the second one, and Paradise Lost is fucking like 4 minutes into a 6-minute announcement video. Let me take the Trinity and ignore them.
Introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line. And so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU.
The 6th or 7th Robin. The beginning of the Bat family. Extremely contradictory, literally within like one statement that you've made. Damian Wayne, my favorite Robin. The 7th Robin. The beginning of the Bat family. The beginning of the Bat family is Richard Grayson, the first Robin. You clearly acknowledge that there are other Robins, and it's definitely not the beginning of the Bat family. So it's like, why are you pitching this as like, this is the introduction, the beginning of the Bat family, when it's clearly not? If you're going to include the Bat family in a story with Damian Wayne, the Bat family's been around for like 15 years. You know what I mean? And within those 15 years in comics that, you know, take place over those like first 15 years of Bat family problems, specifically, I don't know, probably the biggest event in comic book history called Death in the Family. We're never going to see Death in the Family adapted live action if this is what he's doing. We're never going to see it. The most we could ever hope for would be like just random flashbacks. This is what I hate about flashbacks. They don't satisfy anyone. Just having them be a flashback means that there's this level of detachment between the flashback and the current story, which means that you don't have the same experience as when you see it actually happening in real time in story. You can do Death of the Family in flashbacks, but then none of it's gonna really mean anything. Like it does, obviously, like for plot points, but you're not gonna have any of the sentimental value that you would have if you were telling that story straight up. Technically, he can do whatever the fuck he wants, right? He can really just do whatever he wants. But there's no going backwards from your starting point. And if your starting point is like Damian Wayne is already there and the Bat family already exists, then you've just lost the opportunity to tell so many of the most significant stories in Batman history. There's just no way for you to go back to that. Unless you're going to start doing prequels, but like the problem with prequels is the same problem as depicting these events in flashback. There's a sense of detachment that comes with the prequel. Now, some prequels can get over that and, you know, be really, really great projects, but you don't want to start there. You know, you don't want to start on the back foot in your new DC slate as the new co-CEO and have Brave and the Bold be like one of the last projects you're announcing, and you just flippantly announce that you're gonna skip the most important stories of Batman history just because you like this specific Robin. Again, it's just a selfish, horrible thing for you to do. And I mentioned this also, like every moment that you don't show on screen, it's a moment that you're stealing from your actors. That whoever the actor is that they choose as Red Hood, he's never gonna have the level of depth that he would if we were to depict Death in the Family straight up in story. You can show it in flashbacks, but it's not nearly going to have the same impact, and it's not nearly going to be, you know, as helpful for that actor. It's just never going to happen. So, like, just you announcing this means that you're never going to do justice to one of the most important stories in Batman's history. It's bothersome, and I don't know why people are just ignoring that point in this announcement.
Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He's a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series.
I was never a really big fan of Booster Gold, but because he's an annoying character. Here's the thing. I think this project is a terrible idea of a project also because it's TV live action Booster Gold, and like you're not nearly going to have enough of a budget to tell the story of a guy from the future doing future technology and shit like that. But I mean, I guess you can put him in like a very normal world and that would be the contrast that you're playing off of. Even though I think this is a terrible project, it's still a better project than Creature Commandos or The Authority. Because Creature Commandos, no one knows what the fuck it is. The Authority, no one knows what the fuck it is. Booster Gold, at least some people know what Booster Gold is. And part of the character, like you mentioned, is that he's a fan of superheroes of the regular modern day, but he's from the future, so he knows about all of them. So this would actually be a much better way into a new DC universe to just have like this regular-ish guy from the future just fan out for every moment that he finally gets to encounter like Flash once. You know what I mean? That would be a better way into introducing the new DC universe than an animated TV show about all characters that you just don't know about. At least Booster Gold, you have a pretext for why he would like follow and appreciate the regular superheroes like Flash and Superman and shit like that. And you can even have like little small encounters with those characters to have them be introduced into this DC universe. He's actually a very good like point of view character for the audience. He should have done this first. I don't know why this is like, again, so far down the line. Like this is one of the slightly better projects that he's pitching. And again, it's like one of the last things listed. And he's not taking advantage of how much of a point of view character this is for audiences.
One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is the guy who's sent to Earth and raised by loving parents. Whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way. So she's a much more jaded character.
You don't have to explain who Superman is. Everyone knows who Superman is. I get that you're saying that only in contrast to who Supergirl is, but all you have to do is explain who Supergirl is. Yes, everyone knows that Clark Kent had loving parents. Why spend time saying that?
And that brings me to Swamp Thing. The last thing we're going to talk about is
Wait a minute. What the fuck? What the fuck? This guy started off his video. The first frame of his video is him looking at the camera like this. All right. Literally did like no introduction animation, no fucking like even logos at the front like DC Studios or anything. Just fucking. And then also, look at this. Every announcement that he makes has a specific chapter time here, like segmented out on the YouTube video. And then it gets to Supergirl 1 of Tomorrow, and then it switches to Swamp Thing, and there's no chapter for Swamp Thing. This is the official Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters DC Studios DC video. This is the official channel. And they couldn't fucking correctly put chapters into this video? What are you doing, bro? Fucking hell. Like, nothing about this is professional in any way. Like I said, we had 3 release dates announced in this video, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 projects. Of those 10 projects, only one of them has a tentative release date, and it's a Superman Legacy film. The other 2 release dates that he announced was from the Batman 2 and Joker 2. Movies that he has nothing to do with. And also, fucking put some respect on Swamp Thing's name, bro. Come on, you can't even give him his own fucking chapter time here? Fucking asshole. Whatever.
Horror story and the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories.
He did the same thing that he did to Shazam. Even though it's separate from the DCU, it's still connected to the larger universe. Do they exist in the same universe or not? That's all that matters. I don't care if it fucking relates directly into whatever storyline you're referencing, because no one knows any storylines yet. These are 10 new projects that are literally like 5 to 7 years down the line. Like, what? You can't tell me that it's connected to a specific storyline that doesn't fucking exist. Just tell me if it's within the universe or not. No one cares about what storyline they're like involved with, because no one knows any of the storylines that you're talking about. None of these movies have come out. Not even the first one's come out. Your fucking Creature Commandos is like a year away.
Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique.
No, it's not. The only writer-director that you're referencing in like how you want them to be treated is yourself. You haven't hired anyone else to write anything. You might have someone in talks as a director for Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing is the last project in this announcement. You're not speaking about anyone other than yourself.
Something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us.
No, it doesn't. You're concerned about box office. You're concerned about, actual views on your TV shows, HBO shows, and all that stuff. That is not, your storytelling is not the only thing. And I get that you're a writer, like, I'm a writer, and I have an extreme level of like priority for story. But you have to acknowledge where you are and where your product is going to be in the grand scale of the world. So that can't be the only thing you're considering, and it can't be your only like supreme guiding priority. People have things, especially in like pop culture comic book projects, people have their own views on these characters. Yes, storytelling is important. Creating a story with a level of depth is extremely important. But you have to be able to include all of the aspects that come into the business side of things. How many Batman movies have people seen already? How many different people have been cast as Batman within the last 7 to 10 years? People have that in their mind. So you have to build your options as a writer. You have to like incorporate people's reactions to their regular media consumption into whatever your projects are. And that's not saying that you have to like disregard whatever story points or plot that you want to make. You just have to find a way to make that malleable with the perspectives that audiences have on these characters, because they're huge pop culture, well-known characters. If you're an independent filmmaker creating original stories with original characters, I understand that. But you're not. You're creating Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters of DC Studios. I get that this is just like, appeasing a certain part of the fandom that's just like, yeah, story's important or whatever, but like you're just using that as an excuse to do what you want and produce all of the projects that you have. That's not a real genuine thing that you're saying right now. And like I said, when he's talking about like, we want to make sure that writers and directors feel comfortable telling their stories and we support them, you have no other writers or directors signed on for anything. The only writer or director you're talking about is yourself. It's a completely like disingenuous statement to try to imply that he's gonna have like this different outlook on how to produce these projects, but it's not. It's not any different, and I'll get into it later.
Be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys, and we will give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me.
It was not exciting for me.
I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
There's just a couple more things that I wanted to mention, and the initial statement where I said James Gunn needs to stop, I was actually referring to like all of the replies that he gives to people on Twitter, because there's no reason for him to divulge any information on Twitter to fucking anyone. Okay, he's over here answering questions about like casting age-wise for Superman and Batman, which is just complicating things and just adds like more nonsense questions to the issue. So it's just like, don't even answer. We'll just wait. Just make the project, have the news, pick up whatever scoops they will, because that's just what they do. But like you trying to like put out these specifics on your Superman and Batman casting when like even your Superman movie has a tentative release date. We don't really know if that's a release date that you're gonna be able to make. And that Batman movie is gonna be like 4 years out. So it's like, why are you even referencing these things for casting so early on? It's just causing more problems within the fandom and causing all these conversations to happen that, honestly, any actors that have to deal with casting for these characters, they shouldn't have to deal with. You're just making the job harder for all of your actors, for everyone else that's going to be involved with your projects when you do this. Another thing that he fucking went on Twitter and just absolutely ruined was that he just said straight up that he got the job for writing Superman Legacy like 6 months before they chose him to be the leader of the DC universe. And also, previous to that, made some statements that were like really bad against the DC leadership previous to him, which I mean is true. Then like a week or two later, then he announces that he was chosen by that same DC leadership to write the new Superman project. And it's like, why are you talking shit on the previous DC leadership to you when they chose you to write the Superman project, which was instrumental in getting rid of Henry Cavill in the role? And part of his statement was like, oh yeah, DC leadership like really fucked with Henry Cavill. And it's like, you were the final nail in the coffin of fucking with Henry Cavill. He's talking shit about the previous DC leadership and their choices when he is one of those choices. It makes no sense to me. It's completely contradictory. Why are you talking shit then if you're part of the problem? You have to see that you're part of the problem, and it's ridiculous to me that he goes on Twitter to say these things and reveal stuff that he doesn't need to reveal. Like, you shouldn't have to deal with this, James Gunn. You shouldn't have to deal with me and everyone else talking shit on your projects, but you're putting yourself out there way too hard, bro. Don't put that much information out there about these projects. You could have kept it quiet. Take those 6 months, don't tell anybody what the fuck you were doing for those 6 months. Now that you're co-CEO of DC Studios, just be like, the only reason Superman Legacy isn't the first project is because it took me time to write it. So, that would have been the perfect excuse as to why that's not the first thing in the slate. He fucked it up. He ruined his own level of charitability with these statements by just going on Twitter and fucking answering all of these randoms questions. You don't have to answer any of them. These are regular ass people that are just fans. Why are you going in and causing more problems for yourself? It's ridiculous, bro. It's nonsense. You're part of the problem. Acknowledge that you were part of the problem, and then don't fucking complain about previous leadership. Basically, this higher up at HBO talked about the projects that he's pitching as TV HBO projects, and he basically said we're excited to work with him, because of course he has to say that, but also he said that like we have all of these ideas for projects and we have alternatives in case we want to change things around by then. So like even this super huge like official announcement for all of these HBO properties and stuff, none of them are official. He hasn't actually pitched any one of these projects to HBO. None of them have been approved. None of them have been like actually greenlit, ordered to series or anything. They're just like, well, he's the new DC guy, so hopefully he brings us a good pitch. And I'm sure he's taking it very seriously, but like HBO don't give a fuck. If it's not up to par for HBO, they're just not gonna do it. And like he's just hoping to hell that his name recognition and his new position as co-CEO of DC is gonna assure that all of these projects get greenlit through HBO. But he literally has no guarantees from HBO. So I have no idea why he's even pitching half of these as HBO releases. Ridiculous, bro. I think I said everything I needed to say. So thank you for watching. Thank you for watching my rant. Hopefully this clarifies a little bit of what I meant in my previous video. If you haven't seen my previous video, it's even more of a rant. But you know, I feel like I made some pretty good points, especially about the Batman stories that he's completely skipping over and just ignoring. So please watch that if you feel like this didn't go into too much detail for that. But yeah, thank you. Like, subscribe. I'm Orion. Good seeing you again.